Okay, so let's look at now making our presentation happen. In other words, we've put together all these slides. We've got our animations in there. We've got our transitions. We have our voices in there, maybe a number of different things, but it's all ready to go, all ready to get presented. How do we go about making that happen? Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can present. We can either present live, where we're sitting there and we're advancing each slide, we're talking to our audience, that type of thing. The other way would be to have it run automatically all by itself, where we're relying on the timings that we have on our slides, the transitions between each of the slides, you know, when it goes from one slide to the other, and any kind of voice that we might have put in there as well. All right, so this particular presentation we have on the screen actually has animation in it. It has in there the voice, it has the transitions, it has the timings. So if we want to, let's say, present this without having to listen to any kind of narration we have in there, or to adhere to the slide timings where we can advance it as we need to, then we have to set it up a certain way. So let's say that's going to be the first one we're going to do. So we're going to run it by way of manually, all right? So what we have to do is we have to go into the slideshow tab here, and we're going to tell it that we don't want to play any voices or any narration, and we don't want to use the timings. And that's all you have to do. Now the other thing is we have this thing here called use the presenter view, and that's going to be our interface, or like our cockpit almost, where we see one thing while our audience sees the other. And we'll talk about that as we go along here. All right, so once we have confirmed that, now the only other time I could think of that where you would not want to use the presenter view would be where if you're, let's say, using your notebook computer to present with, but you're going to be actually letting your audience see your screen. In other words, your physical screen on the notebook. Maybe you're kind of huddled together and you're just kind of running through it that way. If that's the case, then you would take that check mark off, or make sure that check mark is off. And that way what happens is it just brings up the slide, and then what you can do is click anywhere on the screen to advance it to the next slide and the next slide. We'll look at that as well, but at this point what we'll do is we make sure that we've got that on presenter view. Then what you'll do is, regardless of what slide you're on, if you're on slide number 5 right now, if that's where you want to start your presentation from, then you can actually go down here and click on a slideshow. Or you can tell it from current slide here. Otherwise, if you want to start from this first slide, then we go over here to where it says from beginning. So you click onto that. There's our first slide. And this is how it would look on your screen if you had taken the presenter view off, okay, and you were all huddled around your machine and you're wanting to show your presentation. So you would, have the first slide come up like this, and then anywhere on the screen you would click it, and that would take you to the next slide and then the next slide. Now, you can also use on your keyboard the page up key, and that'll take you back to the previous slide, see? Or you can go forward using the page down key, all right? Now, while you're presenting, one of the things that you can do is you can actually use the inking feature, and that is if we go ahead and just kind of do a right click on here, you can actually see that we've got, we got our, go back here again. Let's first of all get back in the presentation. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so from beginning. Okay, so what you would do is you do a right click on it, and you go down here where it says pointer options, and you've got a pen here. You can click onto that, and you can go ahead and you can kind of draw and that type of thing, all right? Now, the problem is that if you want to advance to the next slide, what's going to happen is if you take your mouse and click it like you would to advance to the next slide, you're not going to be able to do that. So what you're going to have to do instead is use your page down key, and that would advance you to the next slide, okay, if that's the case. And then on this one here, you could do something like that and whatever. Now, if you want to turn off the ink, all you have to do is just do a right click on it, all right? Click back onto, It keeps on popping out there, you guys. Sorry about that. So right click it. We go over here to our pointer options, and then we go back to, sorry about that. All right, so right click it like this, and then you just go down to where it says pointer options, and you can see the pen is kind of highlighted there. So we just click on the pen again, and that turns it off. And then you'll see just your arrow, and then you can just click your mouse to advance it to the next slide. So that's pretty easy to do. And okay, so the other aspect that you have as well is, okay, so we choose from beginning, just like that, and that's it. And this is what your presentation is going to look like if you were not in presenter view, but where you wanted to deliver your presentation, where you're all huddled around your computer, your notebook computer, where they're seeing the screen as you see right now. All right, so the actual screen of the notebook computer, they'd be seeing that. Okay, so pretty slick in that regard. So now what we also have is that if you're going to be delivering it like this, all right, then all you'd have to do is when you're ready to go to the next slide, you can actually just take your mouse, click it, and that would take you to the next slide. Now, if you want to maybe do some inking, where you can make some notation on here or some graphics, what you can do is down here at the bottom, you'll see these little icons here, and this particular one are your pen. So when you click onto that, you got a pen, you got a highlighter, and so forth. If I click on the pen, all right, and then I go back in there as well and pick a color. Let's say I go with well, it's red right now, but let's say I go with the purple. Then I can go in here and I can do circles, I can draw things, whatever. And if I want to change the color, I just go back down there again, click onto a different color, do something like this. Works pretty good. And then when I'm done with that, if I want to go now to the next slide, the problem is if I try to click it, I'm only just clicking and putting little dots in because I'm in the pen mode there. So all I have to do is down at the bottom left-hand corner, you can see this icon here. I click onto that, that's going to advance it to the next slide, and to the next one, and so forth. And if I need to go back, I can just hit the back button over here, and that'll take me back. And again, I can then continue to do any kind of inking that I want, or maybe I could go back in here and change it to, let's say, more of a highlighter, right? And then I can take my highlighter, and I can do stuff like that, okay? And I know you're impressed with that. All right, so not too bad on that. And and then of course, if you want to turn off the ink, then all you have to do is just click onto here, click on the highlighter again, and that kind of depresses it. Now you're back to your arrow, and then you can actually just take your mouse and go click each time to go forward. And if you need to go backward, you can always go back over here and go back to the previous slide, just like that. And that would be it. I mean, that would be the most simplistic way to do your presentation. Okay, so again, what you just saw here was as if everybody was just huddled around your machine watching your screen while you made the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape key, and that's going to get me back out. Now it's going to ask me, do I want to keep my ink annotations? In this case, I'm going to say discard them. I don't want them to be permanently on there, even though they're just a graphic that you can click on to later on and delete if you wanted to. This way it just makes it easier to kind of clean it all up. So I'm just going to go in there and discard. That takes me right back to here. So now the other way of presenting would be to actually use that cockpit or the presenter view. Okay, this would entail you having that presenter view on your screen, and then you've got some sort of like a projector for another screen where they're actually just going to see the slide. And the advantage of this is it gives you a little bit more, I think, comfort, and it also allows you to be able to view the notes that maybe you've put into each one of your slides, all right? Because the other way, the one we just got done doing, there's no way for you to see your notes other than you maybe having printed them out and you're reading off of those or looking back at those as you're doing your presentation, right? So So this next way, we're going to use the cockpit. So in this case, you make sure you've got your presenter view checked, all right? And then you just go back over here to the from beginning. We click onto that, and what will happen is this is what they're going to see on your projected screen, okay? But let me just bring the other one over now. But what you're going to see on your screen is going to be this one right here, okay? So that will be it there. Now, what I love about this is obviously the fact that number one, there's my notes. So my audience isn't seeing this. The audience is seeing what I just showed you previously there, all right? So you've got the perfect comfort, you're laid back, you can, kind of take a glance at your notes as you're talking, make sure that you're covering everything that you needed to cover for that particular slide. And what you're seeing here is what's currently being displayed. What you're seeing here is the next slides, in this case, slide number 2. So now you're ready to go to the next slide. What you do is you click on to the advanced button here, click that one time, and that brings you forward. And now the slide that was there is now here, and now the next one in line is over there. You can also, if you didn't want to have to point down there, you could actually just kind of point anywhere on here and click it, and that will also advance you. All right. But if you need to go back for some reason, and I'm not one for liking to have to go back to a previous slide, but it might be. You might want to emphasize something and go back. Then all you have to do is go down to here, click that, and that will take you back to the previous slide. All right. So that's a nice little deal there. Now, again, what you have as well here, you've got your little pen here. You can click onto that and then specify, okay, I want a pen, and you can do this. There it goes, just like that. You also can go back in there, change it back to the highlighter like we had done before. You could highlight if you wanted to. The other thing, and also too, then when you want to turn that off, you just go back to here. And by the way, let me just keep on going around in circles. Sorry about that. But I can leave this all turned on and go on to the next slide, see, because I've got those controls, okay? I don't need to turn off the highlighter or whatever. But when I'm ready to turn it off, I can just go back to here and depress or toggle off the highlighter, and that'll take me right back there. Now, another little feature that they've got, which I think is kind of neat, is you go back into here, and there's something called a laser pointer, all right? Now, you got the laser pointer, click onto that, and this allows you, as you're pointing to your slide, this is what they're going to see. So they're actually seeing this on theirs. I don't know if, let me see if I can get this to show here. So as I'm doing it on the right side there, that's my screen, all right? But you can see on the left side there, which is what's being projected to your audience, they're seeing that. So you can see for sure that this works great, all right? So let me bring that back in there again. Okay. So I love this laser pointer. This is a great thing, and I love it too because I can advance to the next slide with it and continue kind of pointing out to the different areas that I want to point out. So this keeps you from having to, juggle around a laser pointer maybe that you have in another hand there that you're kind of pointing at and missing and hitting people in the eyes and blinding them and whatever. So this is a lot safer way of doing things. So I love this thing. And of course, then when you're ready to turn that off, all you have to do is go back in here again, hit the laser pointer again, and that depresses it and turns it off. That's pretty neat. I don't know if I had mentioned this earlier, but when you're looking at your notes, all right, we have these icons down below here where we can actually make the notes larger or make them smaller, all right? So a lot of times you might want to make them a little bit larger just because you're going to be kind of nervous maybe, and it's going to be hard to kind of read and so forth. So having them as big as you can get them is great. And what's also nice too is if you make them really big, or if you got a lot of notes, it scrolls, see? So you've got that capability as well. And they don't see you doing that. The only time they'll see an arrow is when you're using your pointer or whatever you're trying to do there, or using your laser pointer or what have you. So that's kind of neat as well. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that, you guys. All right, so, hang on one second. Sorry about that. All right, so The other thing I want to show you, which I thought was a kind of nice little tool as well. Let me get back in here again. Okay, is that when we're talking about kind of emphasizing things, we're using the pen and all that. If you're like somewhere in the middle of your show, let's say you're on this slide, whatever, and for whatever reason you want to maybe take an intermission, or just kind of just turn off the slide, what you can actually do on the keyboard, okay, which is pretty neat, is that if you can hit the letter W for white, and that will white out the screen, okay? And what you'll get is just lighting up the whole room, basically. So that would be kind of a nice thing. That way you can let people out, and they can do whatever they need to do, come back, and you can progress on. Or maybe what you're trying to do is you want to, maybe somebody's got a question, so to kind of light up the room a little bit so people can see who's talking, you can hit that W on the keyboard, lights up the whole room, you can see them, and so forth, right? And then when you're ready to go back, just hit the letter W again, and you're back there again. You can also do the letter B for black and do the same thing there, though, of course, that will not light up the room. And then hit the letter B again, or the letter W, and that will take it back. So vice versa. And by the way, too, on that first one that we did, the first type of presentation where it was just on your own screen, you've got those same controls as well. All right, so that is pretty cool stuff. All right, and on your screen here, by the way, this has another. Let me back up. I'm sorry. This one right here is what gives you the black. All right, but it doesn't give you a white one. See, so my thing is you can hit this if you wanted to for the black, and then hit it again to do that. But on your keyboard, you can either hit the B or you can get that W for white. I think that's kind of neat. The other thing that we have here is this one here called see all slides. Now, what's kind of interesting about this is that while you're displaying this slide number 3, to your audience, unbeknownst to them, you've clicked onto here. It's giving you all the slides. So they're still seeing slide number 3 only. You can then say, oh yeah, I need to jump over to this slide over here, slide number 6. So you would just click onto that, and it takes you right in there, and then it automatically jumps to that slide for them. So if I go back out here so you can see this, there's your business concept there. So again, let me just show you how this looks here. So if I hit that button, there I see all the slides. We're still on that one slide. I go, okay, I'm going to go to this one called the risk and rewards, and that jumps to that slide. You can see it there. So that's pretty cool stuff there. Let me just get back in here. All right. So that's pretty cool there. This one here, you've got subtitles. We're not working with subtitles, so we're going to work with that one there. And then you've got more slideshow options. I can click onto there, and that will give me basically a menu of what we have over there. So pretty neat stuff. And eventually, when you finally get to the very end of your presentation, let's say we get to slide number 17, there we go. And then you hit it again. We're done. Hit it again. And that takes you out of your presentation. Now, remember earlier I was talking about the fact that it would prompt you at the end and ask you if you wanted to save your annotations. So here they are. Here's one of them. And to get rid of it, all you have to do is kind of click right like that, hit the delete key, it goes away, click over here, hit the delete key, and that's it. Now, of course, if you had 70 slides that you did this to, and you had answered, no, I don't want to get rid of the annotations, that's going to be a lot of work to kind of clean up. So you have to kind of think about that too. Now, the next way of delivering the presentation would be then to have it done automatically. Now, you learned in previous videos how we would set up the timings, where how it would dictate how long each slide would stay on the screen before moving on to the next, by way of putting the timings in there. And we did that either manually, or we did that having used the rehearsed timings or the record slideshow. All right. So in this particular presentation, we have both narrations or voices on each of the slides, and we have timings on there. So if you want to run your presentation automatically, in other words, set it in motion and then walk away, this is what you would do. You would make sure that you've got these things turned on. All right, and that's it. Now, if this is something where maybe you're at a trade show and you had maybe a presentation set up that you want to present as people pass by, they can see it on the screen or whatever, then what you'd want to do is probably make sure that when the slideshow made it to the very end, that it would restart again, all right? And you can do that simply by just going back over here to where it says Setup Slideshow, and this is also in the Slideshow tab here. So Setup Slideshow, you click onto that, and you would tell it that you want to loop the presentation continuously. In other words, you click onto that, it just keeps on playing over and over and over again until you hit the escape key to get out of there. So that's kind of a neat thing. And incidentally too, you can actually change your laser pointer color here. Not that you'd be using a laser pointer when it's running automatically, but this is where you would go to change that from red to whatever color you wanted to do it to. And then once you've done this, you go ahead and hit OK. And that's it. Now we're ready to rock and roll. So then we go ahead and we click on to From Beginning, just like that. Slide number 1. All right. I'm talking, blah, 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 blah. And you can hear my voice right now on that. Recorded. Okay, now I'm ready to go to the next slide. I click on the advanced here. Go to the next slide. As you can see here, we're at 13, 14 seconds into it, 4 seconds into this particular slide. So that's blah, 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 blah. And when you're all done with that, if you've been watching all the videos, remember us having done that. We are talking away. Having set up all the voice and everything in there. So. And you just keep on going like this. There's the next one. All right. Now, and that's it. And then eventually what's going to happen, let me turn off my voice. I'm getting tired of competing with myself there. So when this ends up eventually hitting the very end, because we have it on that loop, it will start over again and again and again. All right. So very, very cool way of doing things. And it's very easy to do too, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and just hit the escape key to get out. And that takes me right back out of the presentation. Okay, so now I'm going to backtrack just a little bit to show you a feature called subtitling. And what subtitling does is it converts your spoken voice while you're presenting your presentation and converts it into like almost like a closed captioning at the bottom of the screen or at the top, wherever you decide to put it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm first of all going to take off my narrations, take off my timings, all right, and then also while I'm in the slideshow area, I'm going to tell it that I want to always use subtitles, all right, and then I can go down to here and specify how I want that subtitle to go. So the spoken language that I'm going to be speaking in is going to be English, okay. There's other types of languages that will recognize as well, but I'm going with the English. I would imagine the other English that we have for Canada and for the UK, especially like with Canada, you've got your different ways of saying words. And if you say something, if you had this thing set for English in the United States and we were to say house, for the most part we say as house. Whereas in Canada, it's more of a house type thing, right? And almost like what you get also up in Minnesota, I guess. But the point of the matter is that if you want to have it really accurately pick up on how you speak, especially with English, that might be something to consider, whether you're going to have like the English, type accent or the Canadian accent as well on different words. So anyway, that's what you want to think about. We're just going to leave it as just the English United States there, all right? And then, so that's already set there. And then the subtitle language will also be English. Now, that might be kind of interesting because you could be speaking in English, but it could be translating that English into Dutch. That might be kind of interesting, all right? But I think what we'll do first of all, we'll run it just with English, like that. And then we'll see how well it's able to translate my voice. So that looks good. And then the other thing you want to do is make sure that you've got whatever microphone you're going to be using. Now, if you're on your notebook computer, it's usually going to be whatever it'll just be a regular microphone. If you've got like a headset, which I have as well set up in here, and I've also got a webcam with a microphone, both of those as well. All right. I'm using, just for these videos, I'm using a very high end microphone here. So that's what I'm using. The webcam stinks, not real good. Anyway, so then you can tell it where do you want the closed captioning to be. Do you want to be at the bottom, at the top, below the slide, above the slide, kind of thing, right? Now we're going to go with the below the slide, because we don't want the captioning to interfere with our slide at all. So I'll click on the below slide, all right? And then here we go. So I go ahead and I start it up just like that. And I say, hello and welcome to Sunshine Beach Corporation. I'm really glad you've shown up today to watch my presentation. I appreciate that very much. Let's move on to our next slide here. And I want to talk about our mission statement a little bit and talk about how we need to clearly state your company's long-term mission. And we try to use words that will help direct the evolution of the company and all that stuff, right? So then I'm ready to go on the next slide. And there we go. So now well, that one's in Spanish, but we'll go to the bottom one. I'll say, and you need to summarize number of years of experience in this field. So I think it does a pretty good job at converting my voice into text. So that's pretty much how that would work. Okay. Now, if I hit the escape key, that's going to get me out. All right. So now let's see how well this will translate. All right. So we'll go on down here to the settings, and I'll tell it that I want the subtitle language to be, let's say we're going to make it in Dutch. Okay. I think, actually we'll do Spanish, because that way I can tell if it's doing anything here. So we'll do Spanish. All right. And now I'll go ahead from the beginning. Hi, how are all y'all doing today? Look at that. What is your name? So there. That was pretty good. All right. Now I can go to the next slide. All right. Then I can say, clearly state your company's long-term mission. That's pretty good. Try to use words that will help direct the evolution of your company. I could even say something like, I'm ready to go on vacation. When are we leaving? That's real good. All right. So it does a pretty good job at that. I'll go ahead and I'll hit the escape key again. Oh, and we'll try this again. So I'll go back and I'll change the setting now to being, let's say, Russian. How about that? Okay. Now I'll start from the beginning again. Hello and welcome to my presentation. And I have no idea if that's translating properly, but I think based on it translating into Spanish very well, I think the Russian is right in there as well. I hit the escape key again. Maybe go back there again. We'll change that now to we'll do Polish. Or actually, I got a better one. Actually not better, but another one here. Let's do Chinese. All right, so we'll do our simplified, our traditional Chinese. We'll do that, and then we'll go start from the beginning. I'll say, hello and welcome to the Sunshine Beaches Corporation business plan. So anyway, so I think that's pretty good. So I'll hit the escape and get out of there. So I will say that captioning is a great thing, especially when you're doing a big presentation there and you're either going to be wanting to translate it or just have it go into your own language. That's fine. The beauty of it, though, is that if people have trouble hearing you, they can see the captioning on the screen. So, I mean, that is a major new one, for this program. So keep that one in mind. Now, The other thing I want to show you is once you've got your presentation, again, all put together, timings and everything else, what if you want to, maybe you're not going to be able to present the presentation yourself. So what you're going to have to do is maybe send it to your customer or whatever, and then they can run through the presentation. And because you've got the voice or the narration in there, and you've got the transitions, and you've got the timings and all that, when they get it at their end, they can actually run the show and see it. But there's a special way that you can save this presentation, save it as another file type, and that new file type is such that when you actually see that file, let's say it's in your email or it's on your desktop, whatever, you point to the icon, you double click it, and it actually will right away start running the show. So it's not going to like take you into the program and make you then have to launch into the slideshow. It just, boom, it does it all by itself. All right. Now I'm going to show you how we go about doing that. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to save this as another file type. And a shortcut into doing a save as is on your keyboard if you hit your F12 key. So you hit the F12 key, that will then bring up the save as screen. All right. And down below here, we have the, I like the file name. I don't know what happened on that one. But the below it here, it has the save as type. Now right now, this is just a standard PowerPoint presentation, one where if you open it up, it opens up like you see on the screen in the background there. What we're going to do is we're going to click onto that save as type, and we're going to save that as a show here. It's going to be the PowerPoint show, right here. So you click onto that. We're going to keep this on the desktop, make it easy to get to, and then hit save. All right, and there it goes. Now I'm just going to go ahead and minimize my screen here. All right, and then what I'll do, let me just bring that file over on this desktop here. So there it is. That's the file. So whether it's on an attachment, on an email, or however you do it, you might even share it over the Office 365 environment if your target happens to be in the same network and all that with you. But regardless, what you would do then, or what they would do, is they would just kind of point to the icon, double click it, and bingo, you're right in there. And of course, I still have the captions turned on there, so it's going to start doing that for me. But what's happening now is eventually it'll move on to the next slide because of the timings. And I think I had that turned on there, so we'll see what happens. Maybe not. Okay. So the timings are not in there for some reason. So let me go ahead. I'm just going to escape and get out of there. And I'm going to bring up the presentation again and see what I did there. It should have, oh, look at this. See what happened? I didn't have this turned on. Okay, that's what happened. All right, so I screwed up. So that's good. Good thing to know how to do. So let's go back there and we'll put those 2 check marks in there. All right, and now I'll go back, hit my F12 key again. It's a PowerPoint show on the desktop. There we go. And I'll go ahead and hit save. Replace it. Now I'll go ahead and I'll minimize this now. And there it is again. So now let's try it again. I'll double click it. Okay, we're on slide number 1. I'm talking. I forgot to turn off the narration or the subtitles, but anyway, I'm not doing anything on the keyboard or the mouse. I click on it, and hopefully there it goes. There's went on to the next slide there. So I didn't do anything. It did it automatically because it's using the timings and the voice in there as well. I've got the volume turned off so you can't hear it talking. So anyway, there it goes. And of course, it's giving me a perfect translation into traditional Chinese as well down below there. So pretty cool. Hit the escape key. All right. go back in there. Let me just do this one more time with you here. Let me bring that back up again, that file. Okay, what I'll do here now, I'll go back to the settings and I'll change that now from Chinese to English. All right, so there it is on that. All right, so now I'll once again I'll do my save as, hit my F12, hit save, replace it. All right, so now double click it. Okay, we're on slide number 1. There it is, and now hopefully it's translating it into English. How about that? It's being recorded. Okay, now I'm ready to go to the next slide. I click on the advanced. I love that. And I can say, clearly state your company's long-term mission. Try to use words that will help direct the evolution of your company, but be as concise as possible. We advance to the next one here now. There we are talking away. Anyway, so there you have it on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape key. That'll get you out. Okay, now the last one I want to show you, another way I should say, is to save the presentation as a video. Okay, so it's going to act very much like the show did, like when we saved it as a slideshow just a second ago here, the one that you see on the screen there. But this one will make it into an actual video that somebody could actually maybe even put on the internet or whatever and play that way as well. But the idea is that you're just, instead of it being a file that you would double click onto and it would or just like a regular non-video file, or you can make it into a video. All right, kind of they're very close to how they'll operate. So to make that happen, what we'll do is we go back. I'm just going to hit the F12 key again, all right? And this time I'm going to go for where it says slideshow. I'm going to change that now into an MPEG-4 video. This is probably the most common format. You can also do the Windows Media Video, but this one is the most common, all right? So I would suggest that you might use that one, okay? So I click onto that, and then I go ahead and hit save. Now, what will happen is when I hit save, then this happens, okay? So it starts creating the video. This can take some time here, okay? As you can see, it's kind of crawling along here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video here, and I'll wait till I get to the end, and then I'll start it back up again and kind of speed ahead here, okay? So I'm pausing. Okay, so there it is. It's done. It's done recording. All right. So now what I'll do, let me go ahead and shrink this down here. And here is the video file. So a little bit different looking, but you see that little play button there that's letting you know that you've got a video here. So now if I double click that, okay, we're on slide number 1. I'm talking, blah, 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 blah. All right. So what I'm saying right now is being recorded. So that's it playing through the video screen. And it's advancing, it's doing all the stuff here. So again, I don't know what the big difference would be. I would just say that if you need a video, so the next one here now that we are talking away. So if you need a video, because of whatever reason, then definitely do what we just did there. If you can get away with doing the other one, that's fine too. This one, if you send this is going to be a lot smaller in size. I mean, we look at this size here, it's 2.2 megabytes. I mean, that's nothing. Look at this one here, 22 megabytes. So it's like almost 10 times larger. Okay, so that's a consideration as well. Okay. All right, now last thing we'll talk about here is packaging your presentation onto a CD or DVD so that later on somebody can take a CD, stick it into their computer or DVD, and it will automatically run your slideshow from that. Pretty cool, all right? They don't need to have the program, nothing. It just runs by itself, all right? Now, how would you do something like that? Well, first of all, you got to make sure you've got a CD writer or a DVD, anything. I mean, maybe even the Blu-ray. I'm not sure about that, but at least with the DVDs and the CDs. Then what you would do is you'd stick it into the machine, and then here's your presentation. You got it set up to play the narrations, the timings, and all that stuff, right? And then what you do is you go back into File, right? And we go here and we click on the Save As, all right? Or actually, we can actually do the export. I'm sorry. Go down to Export here. And in here, we've got it where we can create a video, which we'd done earlier the other way. But this is it right here, this package presentation for CD. So what you do is you click onto that, package for CD, click onto that, and then you'll give it a name, all right? This is the file that's going to be copied, all right? And that's about it. Now, if you had additional presentations that you want to have on there, you would click on the Add, navigate to wherever those files are at, add them on here as well, all right? And then once you've done that, you go ahead and you click on the copy to, actually, let me say one more thing here. We go into Options here, and this is pretty important. This is a major thing here. If you have linked, let's say, spreadsheets and the like to your slides, you definitely need to tell it to get that link kind of built in there so that it doesn't need to have the link when it's played wherever it's played at. You understand? So it'll be kind of already copied into the file here. All right. And the other thing is embedding the true type fonts. What that means is that just in case the font that you're using is maybe not available in the user's or the player's machine, this will make sure that that is copied over and it will look the way it looks on your machine, all right? And then, you know, once you've done that, you would go ahead and hit OK, and then you tell it that you want to then copy to a CD. So I don't have a CD in the machine, but we'll just click it anyway. It says, you chose to package your links and da-da-da. Do you want to include the linked files in your package? And of course, you'd want to do that. So what that means is that in case you want to make sure that the people at the other end that are going to be playing this on their machines have the actual spreadsheets or whatever you're linking. If you want to do that, that's fine. They're still going to be showing up in the presentation, but if you want them to actually have the physical files themselves, you'd say yes to this, all right? And I'll just say no, but you could say yes. Do that, and then it's checking for a CD, and of course it's not going to find it. I'll stick a CD in there, hit retry. It can take anywhere from about 5 to 10 minutes to burn it, all right? And then once it's done, it'll tell you that on the screen, and you go from there. So I actually just stuck a CD in so we can see this. I'm going to hit retry here. It says insert a new CD. I did that. And now it's checking. Great. All right. It doesn't like my CD. How about that? So I'll insert this again. Okay. Looks like that did the trick. All right, so, okay, the files cannot be copied to the CD because the CD already contains content. Great. Of all the CDs I picked, I had one with content. Okay, so then you'll just go ahead and hit the copy to CD. It walks you through a few steps, and at the end, you end up getting your presentation placed on that CD. And then you can kind of go from there and you know, distribute it out. And then when somebody sticks in their machine, they can then play the presentation that way. All right. So I think that's a pretty handy thing. Though I will tell you that as I look back on all of it, I think probably the easiest way to deliver or to have your presentation delivered away from you would be just to save it as a show like we did towards the beginning of the video. So just keep that in mind. But there's nothing wrong with doing this or anything else, but it's just I think that'd probably be the easiest way. All right. So I appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully you can use some of these tools that I've shown you. Again, I love that closed caption thing. That's like the best. All right. So I appreciate you all watching. Take care.